This is Tanya Pearson interviewing Donita Sparks for the Women of Rock Oral History Project on July 21st, 2015 in Santa Monica, California. Thank you so much for participating, Donita.
My pleasure.
Like I said, this is a personal biography, so I'd like to start at the beginning. It's like, Donita Sparks, this is your life. Where you grew up, relationship with your parents, if you had any siblings, when you started getting interested in music.
I was born in Chicago, on the south side of Chicago, and my family moved to the suburbs when I was 2. So I grew up on the south side suburbs, very middle class. You know, on our street there were construction workers and there were professionals too. So it wasn't, you know, it was very middle class. I have 3 older sisters. And my oldest sister is 8 years older than me, and it kind of goes from there. Mm-hmm. And my father was a high school principal. And my mother was a housewife until I became, I think, probably in 1st grade, and then she went to work. She was a feminist, and she wanted to go to work. I was the youngest, and so then I became, you know, is the expression a latchkey kid? What is that? I don't know what...
I know I've heard it, but I don't actually.
I'd go to lunch at my friend's house and come home, and my mom would be at work, you know, so it was like, so that was good for me. But, my parents were both liberals, and we were living in a very conservative neighborhood, like a lot of white flight families moving to the suburbs, you know, but my parents were liberals and, you know, from the World War II generation. You know, they both grew up in the Depression. So my parents were older, sort of older. You know, my dad was in World War II.
What was your peer group?
My peer group were, how old are you talking about? You know, they were neighborhood kids when I was little. And then when I, you know.
I mean, were you like, I guess I'm wondering, like, what type of kids, like the popular kids, the athletic kids, the music kids, or?
I would say that I was in the popular crowd. I was a good athlete. I was pretty gregarious. I was rowdy. I was I was a good student, misbehavior at school. So, you know, as soon as the teacher would turn their back, I'd be on to some mischief, but I would get A's, you know, A's and B's, whatever. So I would say I was surrounded by a lot of like, very kind of, my peer group was very sort of normal suburban kids, but thank God I had older sisters because they were bringing in the subversive elements into my life, which was great, like rock and roll and art and just all kinds of stuff like that.
How old were you when you started listening to rock music or your sister's rock records?
My earliest memories are listening to rock records. I was an AM radio freak. Mm-hmm. You know, I listened to the radio all the time. I watched TV all the time, and that was in an era where you'd come home from school and there'd be the 3:30 movie, and there were always great musicals. You know, I'm a big musical freak. So like from Gypsy to West Side Story to Sound of Music. You know, Sound of Music was actually probably my first record obsession. My mother tells me that I listened to it obsessively, probably when I was 5 or so, 4, 5. And then my sisters were always playing the Beatles and the Monkees and, you know, the Stones and then later Bowie, thank God. And, you know, they had very good musical taste, so they were always bringing in cool stuff.